Okay, so if you're going to go on a hike in the Drakensberg or other high altitude mountains, something like the Hex River in the Cape, these are the kind of things that you should think about to put in your bag. And first of all, the bag itself, you're going to need about a 65 to 80 liter bag, depending on how far you're going, how many days out there, and whether it's been winter or in summer, because in winter you're going to be carrying a bit of extra items for your trip. So there's a fairly standard 65 liter bag, top loading area there, it's got a zip over there so you can get to your sleeping bag, etc. Some compression straps on the sides, and it's also got two large pockets where you can put things in. And in another episode we'll show you how to pack it and what to put where. On the side of what you should take for your own personal clothing, you'll want 2 or 3 extra shirts, preferably also thermal underwear in there somewhere to keep you warm. Talking about thermal underwear, you'll need a pair of long john type underwear also, and a fleece, lightweight or heavyweight fleece, depending on what time of year you're there. A proper rain jacket, waterproof and breathable rain jacket, and waterproof breathable trousers to put over, and a beanie for cold weather, a buff again for cold weather or for the sun, a sun hat, and a towel, and lastly a pair of gloves, at least one pair of gloves. These are fairly lightweight, but when you're up high altitude or at night, you're going to need a pair of gloves on you. It's worthwhile taking a pair of sandals, or like these are Crocs. These are items that you can walk around the campsite in at night after a long day's walking, and you can also cross swollen water with these on, making it much easier, and you don't get your boots wet. If you go to this side, you obviously need a pair of hiking boots, and that will be also covered in another episode. So if you're out in the South African mountains and you're going to be sleeping, particularly if you're going to sleep out at high altitude, so around about 3,000 meters or above, you will want to take at least a lightweight down jacket with you. And in most cases, if in summertime, this will be okay. If you're going out from about May through to October, you probably want to take a heavier weight down jacket with you, and something like this is going to keep you much warmer sleeping out. And you'll need spare socks anyway, but having a pair of warm socks at night in your sleeping bag will make life a lot more comfortable often. Other items that you're going to need, you'll need a water bottle, you'll need some sort of other hydration bag, and this is a 5 liter bag. Very useful not to walk with, but if you're camping out at night and you're far from the water itself, you can fill this up before you get to your campsite or your cave for the night, and you've got water for the entire evening. You need sun cream, toiletry bag, toothbrush, all that kind of thing. At least one lighter, if not 3 or 4 of them. Toilet paper, a trowel, a first aid kit, and if you like to walk with walking poles, you'll walk with walking poles like that. Then in order to make your food, you're going to need a stove of some sort with a pot, if not a second pot, to make larger meals in. You can boil your tea and coffee in that. You'll need tea, coffee, milk, sugar, whatever your preferences are. Some snacks while you're hiking during the day, probably more than what I'm showing here. And then your packs of food for breakfast, lunch and dinner. A cup with at least a spoon with it. So at night you're going to need a sleeping bag to sleep in, and what I'm using here is a down bag rated down to -8. This will suffice for the Drakensberg in May, June, October, September-ish, even at high altitude. If you're going up to the top of the Drakensberg in mid-July, you probably want something a bit warmer. But if you're going hiking in summertime in the Hex River Mountains, for instance, you'll need something a lot lighter than this bag. You'll also need a mattress, a thermarest type bag, or you might go for a closed foam bag, and you can get mattresses much smaller than the one I'm showing here. You'll need a mountaineering tent that can withstand high winds, heavy rain, and even snow. And what I'm showing here is a one-man tent there. And I've removed the poles because the poles are much easier if you remove them out of the tent bag and you place them vertically down inside your rucksack. Especially useful if you're carrying the tent on the outside. It makes the whole thing less bulky. So lastly, if you're going to go hiking at high altitude in South Africa, you'll need the appropriate map of the area. You should be carrying a compass and know how to use it. And if you are carrying a GPS, as like many people have it, it's either on your phone or it's a standalone GPS unit. Just remembering that the ability to read the map and understand what the map tells you is 90% of what you need to do to find your way around. The GPS is simply an extra tool in it. You should be carrying the emergency numbers on a little card like this. You can have it on your phone, but also remember that it can be useful to have them on a card, because if you are injured, you might be asking somebody to go and walk to where there is phone reception, and they'll need these numbers on them. A whistle like that to attract attention, or to attract your friend who's perhaps got out of earshot of you, to call them back if you've been separated. You'll need cigarette lighters or matches like that, anything from lighting the stove to, in grassland areas, to burn a backburn if there was a wildfire coming towards you. You need those on you. And very lastly, you need a head torch, spare batteries if you are going for a long time.